Right, hello and welcome to another podcast. As promised, I'm up in the Yorkshire Dales on the River Swale today, in the village of Grinton, and I'm stood just below the bridge in Grinton, about 200 or 300 yards beneath it. It's a proper drizzly grey Dales day, just how I like it. A bit of rain in the air, a little bit of wind. The river's nice and high, and plenty of water coming through. It's an absolutely beautiful stretch of water on the Swale here. Day ticket water as well, anyone can come and fish this. The river's about 40 foot across, and I've got the bridge in front of me. Either side the banks is tree lined, and I can see up in the distance the big edges and the moors towering above the village of Reeth. So you pop in the pub, £10 for your day ticket, and then you can nip back in afterwards for a pint and let them know how you got on. Few flies hatching on the water, mainly stoneflies, seen a bit of caddis as well, but there's nothing really rising, so I've decided to nymph up the river. Looks like a nice piece of nymphing water in front of me. Big riffles, lots of boulders with deeper glides just behind. And I've got a 9-foot rod, about 12 foot of leader, and I've got a barbless universal nymph on the point, and I've got a tiny little pheasant tail and a number 18, the barbless pheasant tail on the dropper. And I'm just going to prospect my way up. Fairly short line, I think, just keep it steady and see how we get on. Let's get this wading stick sorted. It's essential to have a wading stick in this river, it really is. You can't really fish it without. Right, so I've got the bridge in front of me, and I've got a riffle about, well, I don't know, 40 feet in front, and I'm just going to prospect my way up the stream, fish over the different glides all on my way up. Let's get a few casts out, see how we get on. Just the kind of day I like this. Perfect for fishing. Nice and dull and drizzly and grey, miserable. Right up my street. Well, I can see a few of the likely lies where we might get a fish or two. But I'm just going to fish my way across to them so I'm not missing any bits of water here. Got my net on my back, fully mobile. And the wading's not too bad here. The Swale can be difficult in places because it has lots of those round boulders that can be a bit greasy and snotty. But this particular bit looks fairly gravelly underfoot. So casting upstream, and then I'm retrieving the line as it comes back towards me. I've greased up the braided connector. I've got a nice bright green braided connector on the end, and I've greased that up with some silicone grease, some mucilin silicone grease, so it floats up nicely in the water. In fact, I'm just going to degrease that leader a bit because it looks like the leader's floating up slightly. I'll just put a bit of degreaser on that if I can find it in my pocket. There it is. Right, hopefully that's going to sink a bit better. I want the leader to sink nicely and the fly line to float. Right, so just steadily working my way across stream. There's a big upwing fly there just in the corner of my eye. I didn't get to see what it was, but it's a year or two since I've fished on here, but it's a stunning piece of water set right in the middle of Swaledale. Species in here, as far as I'm aware, is just wild brown. Well, I say wild brown trout. I think the club used to do a bit of stocking anyway, but it's brown trout. I'm not aware of any grayling in here in this bit of the Swale. I have heard murmurings of the salmon back in here, but I don't know if there's any getting this far up or whether it's just lower down in the system. I know Yorkshire's rivers are improving all the while when it comes to the salmon fishing. One of my favourite types of fishing, this, prospecting with the upstream nymph. Right, we're just coming onto what looks to me like a stretch of fishier water. We've got a riffle ahead, and it's just created a little current stream that's... Oh, there we are. Nice take then, missed it. It's just created a little current stream which is meandering its way down the river, and that would be a an area where I think we might get into a fish or two, and that was the line stabbed away there, and I was too slow. I think what I might do as well is actually have a dabble downstream from here when I've covered the water ahead of me. The river's about, I don't know, 40 foot across, 35, 40 foot across. Ahead of me I've got the old stone bridge. Oh, there we go, into a fish. Nice. Just where I thought they'd be. It's not a bad one. Oh, he's not bad actually, half a pound. Beautiful, let's try and get him in. He's gone downstream into the current, and he's pulling, and he's pulling, and he's shaking his head. And I don't want to give him line, because if he gets into this, he's going to go, oh, I'm going to have to bully this fella in. Come on, fella, let's bully him in. Let's bully him in. Oh, he's off at the last minute. Quick release. Well, that was always going to happen, I'm afraid. It was what I've got behind me is a very, very fast bit of water. And if he'd got in that, it would have been a real nightmare to get him back. So I tried to bully him, and he was 2 foot away from the net, and he came off. That's just the way it goes. Flies are still okay. He was just off the that riffle there. It was a lovely take. Let's put another one out there. I say it feels a fishy day today with the weather as it is. It's a perfect day for fly fishing. Right, I can swap hands on the cast now. I think I was having to cast over my wrong shoulder because of the trees, but I'm just further enough across the river. Oh, there's another take there, I think. To cast over my right shoulder now. Oh, geese attack. Probably only casting about 20 foot or so of line. Keeping it nice and tidy. I don't like having long lines snaking all over the river. It's very easy to lose control of them, and if you do get a take, you're never going to set the hook and control the fish. Hammering again. Right, let's see if we can stop this one getting downstream of us. He's a bit smaller, this fella. Yes, he's in the net. Super duper beautiful little wild brown trout, about, I don't know what to say, 10 inches, but he's very fat. He's not been short of food. Hook's fallen out in the net. We'll drop him back. Well, that's 2 out this riffle, and that's just this first bit. I've barely moved since I started fishing. Now that took the little pheasant tail on the dropper. That one. Oh, another take. I think missed that one. There is just fishing as the riffle has scoured out the little pool or glide below is always a great place, because the fish are stacked up at the top just before the riffle enters the pool. And if you imagine the river as a conveyor belt of food, that's the first lie where the fish can get to the food. So it's a prime lie really, and they get first dibs on all the insects and bugs that are coming down into the pool. And we're in again. That's another brownie. Oh, I mean, there must be several fish just stacked up in the front of this pool. And this looks like it's going to turn into one of those red letter days. When the river, the weather and the fish. And he's taken the dropper as well, with a pheasant tail on. Yes, he's took the pheasant tail as well. Right, another one in the bag. So that's 2 in the net and 1 lost, and I think I've only been fishing 10 minutes. That's not like me on a podcast. Normally I'm struggling and battling to get a fish. I'll just check the flies look in order. Yeah, we all look good. Right, let's see what else is lurking in the top of this riffle. And they were right up as well, just before the white water right at the top of the riffle is where I've been getting them. Another take. Missed that one. I'm getting jittery now. Every little movement of the line I'm striking. Right, I think I've probably fished this riffle out, so there's a couple of more casts to the right of me, I think, just under the trees, and then it goes very, very shallow and bouldery. We'll work our way upstream. It's all boulder strewn, very shallow. Nothing really worth fishing for here. Right, so I've waded through the very shallow stuff and it's just starting to deepen up a little bit closer to the bridge, and there's all the shale and boulders and rocks exposed on the right hand side, and still got the tree line bank on the left, the old stone bridge in front of me. The top of the edge that I could see 20 minutes ago is now shrouded in the grey mist and drizzle that's coming in over Swaledale, and the boulders are getting bigger and slippier as I wade upstream, but we're nearly about in the zone to start casting again now. Let's have a little look and see if anything rises ahead of me. I think I want to be about mid-river. It's one of those rivers you need to just pay a little bit of attention to, the Swale. I think if I remember right, it's one of the fastest rising rivers in the country. I don't know the exact figures, but it's something crackers, like it can rise something like 1 metre or 2 metres in as little as 20 minutes, and that's enough to catch you out and cause you trouble. So it's one of those rivers, I mean, obviously you need to respect all rivers, but it's one of those that really does require a little bit of care and thought, especially on a rainy few days like at the minute. But I'm keeping an eye on a couple of bits and making sure that it's not rising too quick. Right, so I'm casting again. I've got a nice steady glide in front of me now, which would fish well on a dry as well as the nymph, but there's nothing rising and the rain's really starting to come down now, so I'm going to keep prospecting up on a nymph. It was forecast and I've probably had the best of the session in that first 20 minutes, but we'll prospect up to the bridge with a nymph and then try and fish the bridge pool. There's a really big swirling deep pool under the bridge, which is fairly hard to fish on a fly because it's a big whirlpool and it mangles all your line up, but there are a few runs you can fish, and you can also do something like put a damsel fly on and strip it through, and there's some big fish in that pool. I've connected with some large fish over the years, so we'll try and give that a go, but the rain's really starting to come down now. So I'm prospecting up in a fan shape, covering the water. Looks like it potentially could all hold fish here from bank to bank. It's interesting how every take I've had so far has been on the little pheasant tail. Nothing on the universal nymph at all. It's pretty much a fish catching fly the world over. Size 6, oh, there's a fish just swirled there. Size 16 pheasant tail. I think that swirled as I picked off. Must have been coming up and had a look as I just picked up to recast, and it's come and had a look at the fly. There's not many places you're not going to catch a trout on a size 16 pheasant tail. Alright, heading across stream now. Try and avoid the drag. So I fish in a fan shape and then I'll just take a pace up river. Grab the old stick. It's one of those rivers where you can't wade without a wading stick in here. You really can't. It's absolutely essential. Both to keep your balance, but also it's that dark, peaty water and you need to be able to prod in front of you and and see what's there, because there are holes and drop-offs. In fact, I remember a few years ago fishing here and I'd waded out. If I'm honest, I was beyond my depth, right up to the top of my chest waders, and I must have waded along a ridge under the water, and I find myself in a position somehow where every prod of the wading stick in 360 degrees from where I was standing went down too deep. Must have just stepped onto a little peak, and in the end I had no choice but to almost let myself fall in and just float on my back and get myself out that way. Not ideal. So this glide is about 50 or 60 feet long from bank to bank. Little white bubbles of foam coming down at a steady pace. And then the top of the glide, I can see there's a riffle running into the glide. And again, that's going to be my key area to focus on, but all this water will hold fish and I don't want to miss anything, so I'm going to work my way up and prospect every bit of it. Right, wading stick and another step. Let's have a prod here, it's just starting to deepen up a touch. Whoop, there we go. Yes, it is starting to deepen up. I'm about up to my thighs now. All these little holes and crevices and boulders are absolutely perfect for trout. There always seems to be a lot of fly life on here as well. You never turn up at the river and see nothing flying around. There's always a few caddis, lots of stonefly, some bigger upwing flies. Never fished it during mayfly time, so I don't know if you get a hatch of maize on here. I've certainly seen the yellow maize flying around, and I bet they get a few big stoneflies in here as well. But this for me tends to be once or twice a year I fish on the Swale, and it is beautiful. I do love the Yorkshire Dales. Proper fishing, proper beer, proper weather. And I think the plan for today is to fish up to the bridge, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to go back to the pub to file my catch return, so I think there'll be a pint of Cumberland on the menu when I'm done. "9 foot 4 weight's perfect for this river. You wouldn't want anything more because the fish aren't, and we're in, the fish aren't huge most of the time. Like this one I've got on at the minute, it's 1/4 pound, but they put a nice bend in the 4 weight. What's this one took? That took the Barbless Universal. Perfect. I just had the good feeling about today. I mean, I'm always an optimist when I fish. But as soon as I saw the river, saw the conditions, we've had plenty of rain over the past couple of weeks and the river's right up. A little bit of colour, but nothing too much. Nice overcast day, drizzly. Not any wind to speak of. It's still mild, and there's a few flies flying around. I just thought, yes, I'm going to get into some fish. It's the kind of day, if you don't catch on a day like this, then when are you going to catch? And if you're a regular listener to the podcast, it's quite a realistic view of fishing. You know, it's not one of these things I edit down and, you know, always catch bags of fish. Several times I've either blanked or last ditch attempt after 4 or 5 hours of fishing, I've managed to bag one fish at the end. So I think looks like today we're going to have one of those red letter days. Not seeing a fish rise. The water in front of me is so fishy looking, and I just know there's plenty down there. it is a beautiful dale, Swaledale, and if you're into your walking and your beers and your fishing and your countryside, it's a fantastic place to come. I highly recommend it. So the village I'm in, like I said, is the village of Grinton, and it's you can buy your day ticket from the pub. And as I've said before, if you the further north you come and through the dales and places like this, there's some absolutely wonderful fishing, and it's such good value. I mean, £10 for a day river trout fishing on the fly like this, I mean, you're not going to find that kind of value further south. I think the further north you come, the better the fishing is and the cheaper it becomes a lot of the time. Obviously there's some exceptions there. You know, if you do like your chalk streams and things, you're not going to find them up here. They're all boulder strewn rivers, but if you're into your wild fishing and your wild fish, then you're not going to get much finer than this. The rain's properly steaming down now. I'm quite miserable. I love this kind of weather. Wet and drizzly. Grey. I love it. Wakes you up and makes you feel alive. So I'm wearing my faithful tweed cap today, and I don't think there's a finer item of clothing for keeping your head warm and dry than tweed, especially on a hat. And I think it's because you get that nice, there's a couple of centimetres of space between your head and the tweed, and you get a little air pocket of warm air, and then the water just wicks its way down and drips off. And I can wear this all day long in the pouring rain, and I keep a nice dry head, nice and warm, and the rain keeps off my glasses. Whereas I've tried the so-called waterproof caps, and even after 3 or 4 hours of rain, they start to absorb a bit of water and get heavy on your head, and they don't keep you warm. I'm a great believer in tweed. So, right, we've exhausted the riffle below the bridge pool, so we're going to head up into the bridge pool itself. And it's a very tricky pool to fish, so I'll see if I can get a few casts in from the bottom. Right, so I'm now just at the bottom of the bridge pool. Got the big, obviously got the bridge in front of me, 3 big arches. Oh, there's a rise there right in the slack water, and another rise as well. I'll tell you what I can do, I can get under the bridge. I get under the bridge, I'm going to run I've got a black and peacock spider right here on my fly pouch, so it'll take me 2 ticks to change over from the clink. I'll put a black and peacock on and just run it down this stream of current under the bridge for 5 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. Looking downstream now, I can see all the mist has really rolled in, and the hills are covered with a grey, damp dales, mist and fine drizzle and rain. Right, so I'm just going to wade under the bridge. There's some concrete here on the foundations of the bridge I can get onto, and a channel in between. Not sure how deep the channel is. Let's have a little prod with a stick. That's not too bad at all, but I can get a downstream spider in now, so let's drop a downstream spider out and see if anything grabs it. I haven't got any real option here other than to just dangle it. I'm actually physically under the bridge. There's no, the way the current is and the cast, there's nothing I can do. I can't put a downstream presentation in as such. So, let me just check I can get onto this. Yes, that's fine. Just having a bit of a dangle. And there's nothing wrong with a dangle. Lots of stoneflies out. I'll just put it into a faster tongue of current now that's coming out from one of the other arches of the bridge. Oh, I'm in. Yes. No. What's this? I was trying the tongues of current with no joy, and I cast it right into the washing machine of the big slack bit of water in the middle that's got no features at all, and I stripped it back quite quickly and something's grabbed it. Looks like a little wild brown trout. Let's have a look. Got it in the net. Yes, a little wild brownie. Perfect. Drop him back. Right, that's me done. I think that was 5 fish, and one on a quick release or something. But what a great session. I've only been on probably an hour and a half, if that. So thanks for listening. And as ever, if you want any help or advice, get in touch. Our coaching website is www.peaksflyfishing.com, and to buy the flies, it's shop.peaksflyfishing.com. But from a very wet, drizzly and grey Swaledale, I'm off to the pub. Until next time, thank you. Bye bye.